Hello, and welcome back. This video is about making a splash screen or two. And a special thanks to all my supporters. Thank you for helping me help others. So first up, let's talk about what a splash screen is. I generally think of it as the first set of screens you see when you start a game. Unreal Project Settings, however, has the initial loading screen named Splash. So let's start with that one. So the easiest way to see this is if you go in and you have this set to Standalone. Once you run it, you'll see the little splash screen pop up before the game runs. So to change the screen, we can click on these little browse buttons. So I'll do that. I'll come back. The editor splash is obviously the one we just saw, and the game splash will be the one when the game is packaged. So I have imported a PNG, td-splash here, and I'll go and select that from here. And by here, I mean down here in the Windows section. So when you select images here, what it does is it takes that image and it copies it to a splash folder under content. The editor splash will be ed splash, and the game splash is just splash. So that's why this little import pop-up is here. I'm going to not import. So when we close this, we can see in our content folder, we now have a splash folder. Because I didn't import the files, the US set files are not created and you don't actually see anything here. If you go in and show in Explorer, you'll see the two PNG files that I'm talking about. So now when we run here, we can see that it's using that new version. However, in our packaged version, I'll go here and I'll package the project and then I'll skip the video forward a little bit. All right, so with our packaged build here, when we run the executable, you can see it went right into the game. We don't see that loading splash screen. So to fix that, there's a requirement here where in our project folder, under content, we want to create a new folder called Splash. And in this folder, we copy in a file called splash.png or some other supported image type. So if we run it now, you can see that splash screen showed up and went away very quickly. So doing that manual step is a bit of a pain. If we want to do that so it's part of the package, we can go in our project settings, we go under packaging, and under the advanced section here, you scroll down, we go to our additional non-asset directories to package. This would include it in the pack file, but then that doesn't actually work. This is directories to include to copy, and this is what works. So for this, we just want to add one. You can use the browse and find the splash directory, but this location and where it's copied to is the content directory. So we just need to type in the name of the folder there, or directory. And it's splash, it'll copy the files from that folder. So if we go and do a package again, I'm going to delete this package. Run that. I'll skip ahead again. And with that complete, go back in here. We can see in our project content folder, the splash folder has been copied. So it also copies the editor splash here. If you went back into the splash folder, open it in Explorer, and deleted the ed splash files, that should remove it from the package step. But as you can see, because it's copied it as part of the packaging, again, it will show up very quickly. So this style of loading splash screen will stay as long as it takes to load the initial engine files, so you don't really have direct control over it. Instead, if we want a splash that's in-game and we have a lot more control over it, we can basically make a new level. We want the empty level. We just immediately save this, and we'll call this splash level, and we'll throw it in the main menu folder. So as a reminder, since this is the first thing you want to be run when the game loads, in our project settings under maps and modes, we want to set this here to the splash level. And so if we run this back in the editor here with the selected viewport, you can see this stuff shows up. And as a reminder, the reason that is because for our new level in our project settings, we had initially set our default game mode to the in-play game mode. So we'll either need to create a new game mode for the splash screen like we did for the main menu, or for this level, we could just go into our world settings here, if that's not visible, under Window, World Settings. And then we have our game mode override. Since it's set to none, it's using the override in the project settings. We can set this back to game mode base. So now when we run, we don't get that game mode loaded, so there's not that stuff. So we're going to create our widget interface here. I'm just going to create it for now. It calls WBP Splash. And since we're not using a custom game mode, which also means we're not using a custom player or player controller, how do we get that widget to show up? Well, another option for showing widgets, especially for something as simple as this, is we can go into our level blueprint. And in here we have the usual kind of setup. We have begin, play, and tick. We can just create a widget, which will be our splash, and add that to viewport. So with that setup, we can go in and edit our splash screen. We're just going to make this really simple for the example here. We just want a canvas panel and an image. I'm just going to center the image, hold Control Shift, click the center one. I'm going to make this half of a 1080p screen, so 960 by 540. Actually, before I hit that, no, never mind. I'll set the image to the splash image that I just added to the project. So if we go and we hit play now, we can see that that just loads that screen. It has the image, that's the image I created. Now, since we're creating a level and also a widget blueprint for this, you can make it as elaborate as you want. Scrolling text, animations, movies, etc., etc. We're going to keep it simple for this video. However, the one major bit of functionality that we want in a splash screen is it for to advance. So what that means is the first thing in our construct I'm going to do is call a set timer by event. And we could just use function name, but then you have to type it in manually. Instead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to set this to 4 seconds. Might be a little long, but for the video, it's good. And then we'll create an event. And for that event, we want to create a matching function. I'm going to call this on with the show. And all we're doing in here is calling open level. I want the object reference version, so I can just select our main menu level. So with that, hit play, wait 4 seconds, and it transitions into our main menu. However, making a user wait on a splash screen that has no other functionality for 4 seconds is kind of mean. So we're also going to go down here, we're going to do any key. So when the user presses the any key, we want to also call on with show. So when any key on the keyboard is pressed, the pressed event will go through, but also the mouse events. So this does pose a bit of a challenge in the editor. If we hit play, we're not actually in the screen because you can see the mouse. Well, I assume you can see the mouse. If I click on in here to get the focus into the game, it immediately sends that event. Same thing if it's running in a viewport, click in there and it sends that event, goes through the any key. So purely for editor testing, and you would not want to leave this in the game, I'm just going to add a Boolean value called is once. We'll just control drag this out, throw this into a branch, and all we're doing is setting it. So the is once is for it to accept the any key and do nothing, and then once it's set and goes through again, the second time there's an input, it will go on to the function. So in that case, we can test by clicking in here. You see the mouse disappear, hit the F key, and then it continues on. So all good. For your actual game, you don't want this little bit. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you would like to support this channel, watch these videos 2 weeks early, or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.